And are the leftists in this country aligned with the Muslim Brotherhood and the Muslim extremists?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I can show it, but they don't care. The people in Washington don't care. The people at home do. We're the only ones that are really paying attention. You know, there's a few people like you guys, either in the government or just exiting the government, who are willing to say it. Some people in the military that I've met, no. But they're exiting, they're being kicked out, or they're being punished for saying anything. The people on Capitol Hill that are saying something, here you have 5 congressmen say it, they're being punished. How do you possibly solve this? How do you possibly solve this?
Well, I think you start by just looking at the facts, just shedding light on the facts whenever you can.
I try to make an argument that, you know, if you're a professional in the government, you have a duty to be competent, and that includes a duty to know your job. And if you are someone who took an oath to support and defend the Constitution, your violation of your professional standard to have a duty to know is a violation of your oath to protect and defend the Constitution. That's a one-to-one correlation. That you're making a decision to invest in a narrative as opposed to doing factual analysis is a decision to undermine the integrity of the Constitution and national security.
I think one thing that really needs to happen is people need to get mad. They need to get mad as hell. They're walking terrorists into the White House. And did you?
But they don't believe it, because see, our naivety and our trusting as an American people is what they are counting on. We trust. We say, no, there's no way. Nobody's really answered the question, why would Barack Obama do this? And that's the question that people get stuck on. They're walking terrorists in the White House. Why would he do that? Well, he's an American.
But there are good reasons why they do it. There is a rationale for this. It's not crazy. I mean, I think people who are well-intentioned but just wrong, they want to keep looking at Islam as if it were a traditional religion as we're familiar with it in the West, rather than a comprehensive social system with a law that governs everything from military matters down to hygiene, in which spiritual principles certainly factor in, but they're not even the major part of the ideology. People who get their back up about Islam are stuck in the box of they have to treat it as a religion, and if you are trying to point out all this other stuff, then you're an Islamophobe and there's something wrong with you, you're violating the American tradition. I just think that's dumb, but I at least understand it. It's well-intentioned. For people like people on the hard left, and I put the president in this category, but I think there are many others as well. If terrorism is not ideologically driven, then it's caused by something else. And what they do most of their time is try to turn this into something that's not ideological. It's actually a mental condition done by violent extremists who are engaged in workplace violence. And then when terrorism happens, what they're able to do then is say that it must be something else that caused it, because it's not ideological, right? So maybe it's Gitmo, or maybe it's Israel, or maybe it's military commissions. It always happens to be something that they don't like, you know, some part of the left's agenda. It's a very powerful argument to be able to make that the things that you don't like not only are bad, but actually cause violent extremism. And I really do think a lot of it is strategic.
Okay, so what does the average person do?
I think that people have to make a decision to hold their political leaders accountable. I think they have to make a decision to know what's going on. I think that when you talk about the apathy about people reacting to this, I think this is the outcome of a successfully executed information campaign, that when people started to realize something was wrong, they couldn't actually touch what it was because that data has been left out of the discussion. And what has to happen is that data has to be put in there.
I'm concerned that we have a nation that is on the brink, and we have enemies, foreign and domestic, Muslim, non-Muslim, that they're just waiting for the right moment. We're hit with another September 11th. What happens? What happens to does this spread all across? Do people see that as now's the time? You can cut their head off right now.
Well, I think the answer to, what do we do, or what do the people do, it requires, first of all, courage. The political correct atmosphere in our country is very, very daunting. We've all at this table, we've seen it, we've gone face to face with the beast. People have to have courage to do the right thing. And we have to get past this notion that tolerance by itself is a virtue. I mean, Thomas Mann, a famous writer from the last century, said, tolerance becomes a crime when applied to evil. And people in this country bow to tolerance, and they don't realize that they're tolerating evil, which nobody, once they shed light on what they're tolerating, nobody in this country should tolerate.
And the other thing we need to do is we need to back those people who are speaking out, like these 5 members of Congress, who are just being savaged by the media.
Savaged by the media, savaged by special interests, savaged by the Democrats, and savaged by the Republicans.
The House, yes, the leadership.
I mean, the leadership of the Republicans are just as bad. When John McCain came out and said that, I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
But the most interesting thing about that is, if you take a look at the letter that initiated that by Congressman Ellison, he quoted her, but then you take a look at what she said and what he quoted, the two don't line up. She never even said what he quoted her as saying. And it's just...
I know, but they don't care. The press doesn't care.
The problem we have,
the senior Republican leadership should have.
It's a deeply cultural problem. I mean, I started off our conversation saying that 15 years ago I could put this in as evidence. Now it could get me indicted for defamation. You have that letter from 2011 from these groups that are demanding the purge. They're some of them are the same groups that are in this explanatory memo. And I think what that shows is that in 20 years, our culture has gone seriously backwards. That's not something you fix with a silver bullet. It's got to be a sustained effort to bring it around.
Gentlemen, I thank you, and we'll have you on again. I appreciate it.